Well, I have a question for you, sir. I'm here with
What is that?
Donnie, and this is Out of the Blank podcast. Donnie, tell me, who are you?
I am the hot sauce flavor wizard over at dangitdonnie.com. A hot sauce maker, pepper eater. I've been doing it I've been eating hot stuff since I was a kid. Ever since I ate something spicy, I cried to my mom and she was like, "It's not going to hurt you." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And ever since then, I kind of been hooked. The past about year, I've been messing around with my own flavors, and here we are.
But you, the hot sauce flavor wizard, that is a title and a half. I love it because how many people are like small batch artisanal hot sauce maker? That makes sense when it comes to
Yeah.
being professional, but don't you just want to let loose in a society filled with rules?
Absolutely. I'm also an internet troll, so it makes makes for a good time.
What do you mean by internet troll? You have to help me here.
Oh, okay. Well, the one question that I get from a lot of my friends online is this website actually real? Because when you go to it, the first thing you see in big words, it says just buy the damn sauce, really big. So, I'm kind of I take an in-your-face approach. I try to make people laugh a little bit. One of my sauces right now is called Reverend Donnie's One-Way Ticket to Heaven. The other one's called Hot Stripper Babysitter. So, it's fun names, good flavors. I'm flavor forward. I don't try to burn people's face off, but I like to have fun. I think everybody should be able to enjoy spicy food.
So when did you decide to turn it into Dang It Donnie though? Like, I mean, what's weird is I've always talked about like there's always like usually two people that kind of own a business. One's more about producing the product and worried about the quality of it, and then the other person's like the advertising side. But like you nailed it both in one, man. The whole factor of like Dang It Donnie, and then you got these amazing videos at the same time. You're also doing like very good promotional stuff, which brings people to your profile. So I'm like, I'll give you credit on that. I actually had an
Oh,
idea
thanks, man.
when it comes to
Okay.
hot sauce. So I want you to kind of think about it a little bit, but it's called truth or dab. So you have to take an extremely hot sauce and then answer some
Okay.
questions.
Hey, that would be a good show. Truth or dab, huh? Here, let me write this down.
Now about truth or dab, and then also another show, I don't know if you ever heard of it, but I'm trying to create it right now. It's called Hot Ones. I think it's a great idea. It's where we give people questions and we give people wings.
I don't think that that's been done. So if you want some help with that, I'd be happy to help you.
That's what I'm saying. And next, we're investing in. I'm thinking of this site where you can search up anything, and I want to call it Google. I don't know if that's going to work. Maybe we have to change the name to like Bing. That sounds a little bit better.
I'm working on one called Alta Vista, and I'm also working on a browser called Internet Explorer. I think it would be just the best thing, to be honest.
Oh my God! You know what? Screw it. Let's just bring back AOL, man. Who doesn't love when you turn your computer on and you get blasted with two transformers having sex, basically?
That's actually hilarious because my one of my email accounts, the one that I actually use for the website, is dangitdonnie at AOL.com. I thought it was hilarious that AOL still hosting emails. So
My
I was like,
old
that's
one,
perfect.
my very first email I ever made when I was like 7 years old, my dad's like, I'm going to make you this so you have something professional in life. And it was Comcast.net.
Oh,
Some
that's
woman
awesome.
at my work last week, I work at a gym, so she's signing up for a membership and she goes, oh yeah, my email is at Comcast.net. I was like, whoa, that's an oldie. She's like, yeah, one of the first. I was like, they deleted mine because they stopped going from Comcast.net to .com. They PC'd it.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what?
I wonder how long she's had that then. It has to been for a while.
She probably had it like when the first computer came out, when everybody was like, we have to get emails because this is going to be our new form of contact. Now, like I tell people, I rarely use my email. It's part of about being a millennial. I'm more than happy to go
Uh,
through an Instagram DM. I'm more active. But then people are like, you need that to be professional in life. I'm like, but do I want to be professional or do I just want to be me?
you know, people think that you have to be professional, and up to a certain degree, I think that the boundary of professionalism is also the boundary of reasonable offensiveness. You know what I mean? You don't want to offend people or be disrespectful of anything, but I mean, people are too I don't want to say people are too PC these days because that has to do with like how we treat each other, but people are too worried about whether something is going to be offensive. I think it's hilarious. It's stuff like a hot stripper babysitter, for example. Like I was
Yeah.
like, should I use that? I mean, it sounds kind of bad, but the story is whenever I was a kid, one of my mom's friends was a stripper and she made a pineapple upside down cake one day, and it always stuck with me in my head. Um,
Hold on a second. Was her name Cinnamon?
Wait, you know cinnamon?
I do know cinnamon.
Oh,
Okay, I
she
had a.
she made you the cake too. That's awesome.
Well, that brings into a good point though. What I was saying was the factor of like you look at like your sauce names, for instance, like
Mhm.
hot stripper, babysitter. That is something where like if I was looking at like from an old person's perspective, like how could they sell
Yeah.
that in a store? But it's like if you're getting that mad over a sauce name, it's like, but that's the fun part behind it. That's what really attracted me to your profile was I'm looking at this thing. It's like it's
Oh
about
yeah.
having fun. It's still professional when it
Hmm.
comes to business and everything, but on the aspect of like, hey, I'm gonna create fun videos and realize this is all just joking matter. It's nothing you want to take too
Yeah.
serious. And I'm like, we live in a world today where
Mhm.
everybody's up at arms over everything. Grab your pitchforks and grab your torches.
Exactly. One of my first sauces was called a badass eagle with a snake in his mouth, and I came up with that name because I was like, what is the most like American sounding thing that you could think of? And it was a taco sauce. So, and American by the Americas, like the North America and South America. I was like, if you were to make a hot sauce that was named the coolest thing, it's got to be a badass eagle with a snake in his mouth. And it was a taco sauce with lime in it, and that was the snake in its mouth was the lime. But I made a V2, a version 2, where I put 2 million Scoville pepper extract in it, and that was the snake in its mouth. And it's a burner, I'll tell you that, on the way out.
Now, with the whole factor of when it comes to creating a badass name, do you throw it in a randomized generator? Like, you know how many people like go like, I don't know how to think of a character name. Randomize, randomize, randomize. It's a bunch of thing like Eagle Fart 3. It's like, okay, that makes perfect sense. Now you're going to be level 70 orc as Eagle Fart 3. Oh, he's writing it down. Great.
What?
But when it comes to like, you were saying put a whole bunch of badass names together. How many times do you see something that correlates with the devil? He correlates with things that are hot. Obviously, it's like, I get it, but how hard is it to think of something that's like, Grizzly Adams, something that's a name that's going to stick? Like you kind of
Hmm.
hit the nail on the head with Dang It Donnie a little bit. Like I go by Rasta Rob, and it's like,
Oh, that's cool.
so it's just like, you got to have that ringy cash to it, but nothing
Mhm.
like, how difficult does that get for you to make a sauce like that when it comes to, are you worried about what people are going to buy based on like, well, the audience might not want a sauce called Reaping Raving Asshole or something. If you
I
if you
think that
if you're gonna
there's
write all these down, we're gonna be going for a while.
you got a lot of great ideas, Rob.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, typically whenever I think of a name for a sauce, I think of sauces like I think of memes. Actually, I treat the label like a meme. I treat all of the media and marketing that goes around it like a meme. I want it to be positively triggering, if that makes any sense. Like I want somebody to see it and then their eye immediately catches it. Bright colors, absurdities, text that isn't necessarily, um, you know, graphic design perfect. These small things that just kind of catch the attention, and that's really what I think about as far as that goes. As far as the flavors of the sauces themselves, I mentioned earlier I'm really flavor forward, so I get ideas for sauces based on what I could put them on. So the first 3 sauces that I released, the first one was called Tactical Gherkin, and it was it had Reaper in it and habanero, but it was basically just pureed pickles, and it wasn't like a relish. It was just pureed pickles, and then I filtered it through a sieve so it didn't have any chunks in it, and it's a really good sauce to put on like burgers and hot dogs, and so that's what I made that one for. Another one that I had was the badass eagle with the snake in his mouth for tacos, and so there are, you know, I used to be a sound engineer. I guess I should start with that. Okay, so since I was a kid, I had played in bands and did a lot of viral marketing for bands. To get people to come out to a show is kind of hard, so you have to be able to catch their attention, things
Yeah.
like that. So I had a lot of experience with that. I was a live sound engineer for like half a decade or more, and so um, I, since I started making sauces, I realized that the same parts of the brain that go into creating a really nice sounding mix also go into creating a nice tasting sauce. If you just think of the different flavors in your mouth as the different frequency ranges, and you just have to balance those out for the effect that you're getting, it kind of becomes easy when you make an analog like that. And so, really, honestly, I kind of lucked into being decent at the sauce marketing thing just because of my past experiences. Sort of serendipitous, to be honest.
Yeah, like if you look at promotion for bands, promotion for anything when it comes to just advertising in general, it's all really what catches the person's eye. And the
Mhm.
easiest way to do that is using bright colors. It's using things with an it's either it's got to be so extreme of a label where you're walking by the store and next to the millions of other bottles that are there, it's able to grab your attention first. Like, wow, that's a panda riding a tiger with nunchucks in his hands. That's going to get anybody to stop and look at that. And when it comes to also the complete opposite, which is like really weird, is that it can be so basic it can catch somebody's attention too, because
Mhm.
it's this weird effect that we've kind of went as a society where it's got to be all the way to the extreme or too bland, and that's what really grabs our
Mhm.
attention. When something just says like the word just on it, and then you grab it and it's
Mhm.
like it just has 4 letters on it, what does that mean? And then you try and you're like, wow, this is amazing, and you realize it's something completely different. But then it also
Mhm.
kind of correlates into the way the world really kind of works when it comes to products. It's like we love something, but what is that something? You know what I mean? It's like this
Mhm.
thing of we're searching for something. And then like how many times do people just buy the basic stuff of what they hear about that they know that's people like? It's not the
Yeah.
best, but it's average. It's like, are you gonna settle for average? This ain't Average Joe's Gymnasium. This is a place where we're global gym. We gotta expand. We gotta pump that fucker
Yeah.
up.
And I definitely agree with that. One of the strong points of being a small company, I think, is that I'm able to make small batches of pretty much anything. Anything I think of, I can make the labels myself. I just order the bottles, and I make whatever flavor I want. In a whim, I can make a new flavor and have it packaged up in a single day. And so there's a lot to say about that, as compared to, like, some other companies out there that you see. They may not have the most exciting names. They may not have the most exciting, even the most exciting sauce, but it just takes so much to get those sauces done that you kind of have to settle on something that you can be happy with, uh, if you can't change it. So, I mean, definitely being a small company has its benefits in that aspect as well.
Are you ever just hanging out at a restaurant and be like, pull out a thing of sauce out of your pocket or something, just put it on something? I feel like if I was a
Do
sauce
you,
creator, I would be only using my own product.
do you have a camera that follows me around or something? Because that is exactly what I do. So I'll come up with these new sauces, and I'll have chefs taste them. I will have waitresses and waiters taste them, and kind of get the word out in restaurants. And that's a really good way to do it because those people are around food all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, so one of my favorite wing places in Springfield, Missouri, Coyote's Adobe Cafe. I've taken some of their chef's sauce before, and like they recognized me when I came back. Hey, that's the sauce guy. And that feels really good. I wish I could do more of that, but this whole COVID-19 thing is putting sort of a damper on going out
Yeah,
too much.
they threw out FDA regulations, was kind of like is like now they have to look at all these places that are now stopping and selling food. Like we make shakes at my
Mm.
work, like protein shakes, and now they're like, all right, you can't do this anymore because we can't sell it to people because contamination reasons. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
well, it's good. I don't have to make peanut butter slammers where I'm smelling peanut butter all night because it involves peanut butter. But at the same time, I'm
Mhm.
thinking of you like running down the street, like, hey, try my sauce. Try, like you're
Try
like,
this sauce right now.
you have a bunch of people with their mouths open. You're sitting there shooting sauce off into it. That was a freaking slow. Wow, that's a 2 liter. That's not even the whole. Wow, chug it.
That's a 3 liter.
That's a 3 liter, really?
Three 3 liters of Juggalo nectar. That's what that is right there.
What?
I did a video yesterday. Yesterday was National Root Beer Day, Root Beer Float Day, actually. So I made a video about how to crank up your root beer to make it spicy.
So
I basically just used tincture in it.
are you
What?
basically just making everything hot?
I'm making everything hot. My whole idea is, see, I don't have a very high tolerance for heat. I
Wait,
like
hold on. How
spicy
are
food.
you a hot sauce flavor wizard if you don't have a high tolerance for heat?
I'm flavor forward. So my heat threshold is right around 400,000 Scoville right now, which is above most people. So, for the common public, that's perfectly fine. I use reapers, ghosts, and scorpions in small enough amounts that it's not going to make somebody cry. But Actually, having a low tolerance is pretty decent whenever it comes to making sauces for average Joe, if you want to put it that way.
Have you ever slipped up and touched your eyes when making peppers, or you're not making peppers, but making a sauce, like accidentally burned yourself?
Yeah, I've done that. Touching the eyes isn't the biggest concern. I've got two of those, but there's some things on my body I only have one of, and
I feel you.
that's way worse to
Yeah.
touch. And I've done that before. It's kind of funny. I would swear that we have taste buds down there because I have been in more pain with that than the same peppers that went in my mouth. So like the burn was worse on other parts of the body than it was in the mouth. So yeah, I've done that before.
I see that. This is what scares me about even trying to. People are like, you should, make some peppers. You got some good connections to maybe make your own sauce. I'm like, I've had poison ivy before, and the first thing they told me not to do was not to touch my face or crotch, and I did that immediately. And next thing I know, I was rubbing that calamine lotion for weeks upon everything, and it was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever experienced in my life. And every time I pass that little fucking pink bottle in the Walmart or something, I get the biggest amount of anxiety where I'm like, I'll never go camping ever again. They're like, oh, don't let that ruin your fun. It just happened once. I'm like, but it could happen. It's like being in an airplane and it crashing. It can happen.
Yeah, if you're in an airplane crash once, I bet you're probably not going to be in an airplane again. But I've been in car wrecks and I'm able to get in a car. It just takes a while. You just have to build up your tolerance and wash your hands off. I think it's kind of like with COVID too.
Can you build up a tolerance for car accidents? I've only heard a car accident.
Bruce Willis, yeah.
Oh, Unbreakable?
Yeah, probably. Just don't give him any water.
That was a train accident, I think. That's like, see now, if we're in a competition, like everybody's sitting like in a rehab circle and the one guy's like, I've been in multiple car accidents. He goes, well, I was hit by a fucking train. Where were you? Huh?
Choo choo.
Well, I mean, we look at like, I've only really heard one car accident. So what kind of car accident have you been?
On my birthday one year, I T-boned a girl okay, my birthday is December 23rd. So it's like right around, Christmas. Everybody's getting their last minute shopping in. And so traffic was high. So I'm actually, imagine this, I'm in the car and I'm driving. I get out of work and I'm driving down the road to go get my license renewed because my license expired. It was my birthday. And so I had to renew it. Traffic's heavy, driving down the road. I'm in the middle lane, in the inside lane. This girl just comes out of a shopping center and just doesn't even look. And so I have like no time to react, smash into it, slow motion. I see the glass shatter all over her. And first thing I do, I'm like out of the car. I'm like, are we okay? And I find out we're okay. Then my brain goes, all right, you can be mad now. And so I was like, you ruined Christmas. You're a terrible person. You have to look when you're going out. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm turning into a boomer. This is happening right now. But when you're in a car wreck, I mean, I guess we all become boomers for a second.
Dang it, Donnie. What are you doing?
Dang it.
Is that where it came from? Just too many people saying, dang it, Donnie. You're like, oh, that makes sense.
Do you remember when I said I was kind of an internet troll? And, not a bad internet troll, but I know, I just like to have fun with people, really what it is. So I like those jokes. My first Facebook post, for example, was in 2006 or something like that, back when you could only get it if you were in college. And my first Facebook post was, man, I think Nickelback is a really underrated band. So I've been doing this since day one.
Why does everybody talk shit on Nickelback?
Because it's easy.
I know, but they're not that bad.
I think that even Nickelback probably talks shit on Nickelback. Nickelback's a good relief, though, because all we would have if they didn't exist is Metallica to shit on. So
well, you can't shit on Metallica.
You can shit on Mars. All the rest of them are good.
I mean, but if you look at Nickelback, though, like that was my MTV years. Like, I mean, I was watching MTV when I was a little kid. Freaking, look at this photograph.
Look at this graph. Have you seen that meme?
Yes. Well, I mean, I think it's because they're from Canada, and then it's like they're kind of like what do you call it? Like the Garth Brooks of country, I would say. But like they're more like
the Garth Brooks of butt rock. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, more like it's so easy to pick on them. That's the reason why everybody does it. Like if you did it to any other band, everybody else would be like, "Hey, you're a piece of shit." It's like, okay, well, you can do that with Nickelback because none of their fans are going to step up to say anything. I'm like, they're not that bad. It's the reason why whenever I see a master bathtub, one of those huge jacuzzi things, I think of one of their songs. Where like, what rock star, where he goes, I spend all my money on fortune and fame. I'd rather cut my hair and change my name. But he goes, he living in a big whatever house with a giant bathtub. Something. One of the lyrics. I don't know. I got to re-listen to it.
You know, I forgot that those were the lyrics to the song. And in
I'm
thinking
pretty
back
sure
on it,
everybody
he actually did cut his hair,
okay.
and then he married Avril
Maybe
Lavigne. So that's weird.
now that I start thinking about it, I think it's maybe because they look like the Backstreet Boys of rock and roll.
Maybe they do have one of the best drummers in drums, though. Like it's like, you know, there's people up here, and then there's that dude from Nickelback. He's in there, man. He's one of the best drummers in history. And I actually was hanging out with this person one day, and they were like, who's your favorite guitar player? Because I'm a guitar player. And then I was talking about that, and I was like, who's your favorite drummer? And it was the drummer from Nickelback. And I'm like, wait a second. And whenever I finally caught my breath from laughing so hard, I asked some questions. And apparently there's videos out there of the drummer from Nickelback. I don't even remember his name, to be honest. But he's a phenomenal drummer. Just like way better than he presents in Nickelback, which is the opposite for Metallica.
I remember when I was a kid and I was listening to Def Leppard. And I was like, this guy sounds like he's drumming with one arm. And my dad just looks at me and goes, is because he is drumming with one arm. I'm like, what? And I looked
Very
and
perceptive.
Lost it in a freaking car accident. Well, I was just like, it sounds like he's just hitting. Because when I learned to play drums, I was using my right hand more than I was using my left hand because I was busy with my left hand doing something else. No, but the right, I was just like, you know, I was hitting all over the place and I knew what it sounded like. So I said it when I heard it. And my dad's like, because he is using one hand. He's using, you know, double foot pedals and stuff too. But at the same time, that's why you hear that is because he only has one arm. And I'm like, how is he not on the fucking list of things? Imagine trying to carry your gig amp and you have one arm. Like everybody's like, hurry up, man. You're like, I'm working with one arm. I got to start 30 minutes before you guys to even get close to halfway done when you guys are already in the van and packed up in bed.
And Def Leppard was huge by the time that guy lost his arm. Actually, the reason he lost his arm, from what I remember, is that they had just gotten huge. And then, he was, you know, in a car accident. Back then in the 70s or 80s or whatnot, it was cool to be a rock star, you know. Pretty much it was a free pass to have substance abuse problems. And a lot of those guys did. And so he was in a wreck, lost his arm. And thankfully, the band didn't fire him. These days, they would have been like, oh, you're a hero. And then they would have never let him play again. But thankfully, back then, people were a little bit more rugged, I think.
Have you ever seen Tenacious D?
Like live?
The movie.
Oh, Pick of Destiny? Yeah, I've seen that before.
Immediately when you said substance abuse issues, I was thinking of like, imagine if you created like a video where instead of snorting cocaine, you're snorting hot sauce or pepper extract.
That would be Steve-O. That's something you're going to want to take up with Steve-O. Oof. Yeah, I could not do that. Actually, yesterday, whenever I was doing the root beer video, just the fizz from the root beer had suspended some of the capsaicin oils in the air. So I'd go to take a drink and I literally just spit everything out in the camera because it's kind of unbearable. I maced myself a little bit.
Well, even switching from like music, well, even if you enjoy hot stuff, but why hot stuff and why just making your own sauces and videos instead of like, you know, there's obviously different routes you start to learn in the pepper community. There's people that make the sauces. There's people that grow the peppers. There's people that do, you know, the challenges, the pepper heads. But you said you weren't one of the heat chasers.
Yeah, my tolerance is small. So what I've been doing to build up the tolerance is I've been eating habaneros quite a bit on camera, but I think I've graduated from that a little bit. I can't find anything. What I'm doing right now, though, is I'm looking for something between a habanero and like a ghost pepper. So I'm growing some purple ghost peppers. They're 800,000 Scoville. So they're a little bit more than twice as hot as a habanero, but they're not like eating a Reaper, which is like 1.1 million or 1.5 million, depending on the soil and stuff like that. But I grow peppers. I make sauce, do the videos, do everything. And it's kind of funny because it's like different aspects of my life, different things that I've done in the past have all just kind of led up to this kind of naturally. So a lot of the marketing stuff comes from back whenever I was in music and doing show promotions, stuff like that. The cooking, whenever I was a sound guy, that directly translates, you know, from the ears to the tongue. It's just another sensory experience. And, you know, I think a lot of us like hot and spicy stuff because to be honest, it is sort of like a substance. You know what I mean? Like you eat something that's a little bit too hot for your threshold, and your body starts releasing the dopamine and the endorphins, and you actually start producing something called anandamide, which is, and it comes from a Hindu word, which means, or a Sanskrit word. I'm sorry if that's not the right word, but that means happy. So literally, it means whenever you eat peppers, you get the happy chemical, and it starts helping your intestines. It helps your body fight tumors, different things like that. And there's all science. There's science about all of that. So there's a lot of physiological effects that really kind of addict people to
Yeah.
capsaicin and hot stuff. So if you search YouTube, like pod reviews or spicy food or like hot challenge, stuff like that, if you get somebody on those videos who actually eats hot stuff regularly, they're going to react completely different from somebody who eats hot, like who doesn't eat anything but Tabasco, and then all of a sudden they're eating a dried Reaper, which is a terrible idea. You shouldn't eat dried pods.
Does it amaze you the fact that the body is that like sophisticated where something like that could, like, it shows an adaptation level to it? Because like I'm a
Mm-hmm.
fitness freak, so what I started noticing was there's like these people that would come every single day, same time, and just run on the treadmill constantly for like an hour or 2 hours long. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember one time they couldn't, like, especially like when gyms are closing and stuff due to the whole incident and pandemic and all that. But like some days, like, their membership was expired, they would get so upset because they couldn't get on the treadmill and run. And then you start to realize it's the cortisol rush that you get. Basically, when you get done, it's called what they call a runner's high. But I
Yeah.
mean, that's amazing. That can link to so many different things. Like the reason why hot sauce is so good for the immune system is because it literally cleanses you out. Same thing like a hot shower does, where it makes you sweat, it makes the pores kind of release all the bad toxins. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's why people get addicted to stuff like this, is the amount of chemicals that get released into your brain and your body that shifted into a whole new level,
Uh-huh.
which when you really start to break down sauce making into that level, it starts to turn into like a fucking mad scientist type thing.
Yeah, and that's why I call myself, the hot sauce flavor wizard. I don't call myself the chili. Like I'm not claiming to be the best chili eater or anything like that, but I do like flavor and I like hot stuff. My Instagram handle is Chili Mancer because I like to summon the spirits from the peppers and create interesting sauces that can make your brain hooked on its own dope. Basically, that's what it is.
You're literally pulling my heartstrings here because I'm
Aw.
obsessed with magic. So I want to know
Oh,
why.
that's awesome.
I want to know why the magic thing. And I'm not talking about no David Copperfield shit. I'm talking
Mhm.
about like every time I play RuneScape, every time I play World of Warcraft, I am immediately like a druid or just the magical thing. And like it kind of links back to Greek mythology a little bit for me. I like that whole like half god, half like having these powers of like the sea or all these other types of things.
That's really funny that you say that because I also have a rap project called Drizzle the Demigod.
Oh,
And so Drizzle's a kind of a broke rapper. He's got an aluminum grill. He throws out dollar bills and actually just some change. He makes it drizzle. Can't really make it rain, but he
oh,
tries.
that's fucking awesome. I freaking love that because like if I was
Yeah.
gonna be rich, I would be so like I'd be like Bill Gates with my money, not injecting
Yeah.
people with COVID, but the whole factor of like trying my best to, like, he always said like you should, if you start throwing out money because you have it, you're never going to end up saving it. And I was like that, like
Mhm.
even I have money, but I go like I get cautious when I have to spend $5 on anything. I went to
Yeah.
freaking my liquor store and I don't drink, but I was like Screwball whiskey is really freaking good. So I went in there and I was like, it's $30. And the guy goes, yeah. And I'm like, do you have anything smaller? And he goes, no, it's just that. And it's $30. I'm like, but I don't want to spend $30. He goes, then you're not getting the whiskey. I'm like, well, you just lost a customer. And he goes, I don't give a shit. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't
Hey,
realize.
that that's really cool. I think that people who work at liquor stores are definitely a type. I think they get so used to dealing with people like, I want this liquor for basically free. And then they're just like, just get the fuck out right now. Just because I've got a buddy who JT Eberhard, that guy works at a liquor store and he posts online all the time. He's also a magician. He does sleight of hand and stuff like that. One of the
Can you
founding people of
can,
Skepticon, stuff like
can
that. But
he
he
guess the
is
number I'm thinking of?
ruthless. Not that kind of magic.
Oh, okay.
He probably could. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. He's a smart guy. He could probably figure out some way to do it. But
I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 5. Can you guess it?
3.
That might have been a little bit too easy, but I will still grant you magical powers for that one.
All right, that's cool. I like
But
that.
you mentioned a good point though with the bar, like owning a liquor store. Imagine the amount of people you come in contact every day. Like if you just stood on the side of the street in like a popular city and just came
Mhm.
across the wide variety of people. I mean, I come across it with getting different people on the podcast and stuff. But like what I try and emphasize and stuff is what I do in my life is I'm not a dick. I just call people
Mhm.
out on their bullshit. If you see somebody acting out and somebody acting very rude
Mhm.
or extremely this, it's like just call them out on it. It's because you don't do it and people just sit there and gloss over it. Next thing you know, that person's going to think that's the proper way to go. It's like when you see a little
Yeah.
kid on their video game thing and the parents just letting it go and they're screaming and playing video games really loud, like in a place where you're not supposed to be doing that, like in public.
Uh-huh.
And you got to call them out. It's like if you pull out a phone, start having a Bluetooth speaker conversation in the middle of a Starbucks line, I'll pull it out of your ear and be like, what are you doing, dude? You going over
Come
your
on, guy.
taxes right now?
We're trying to order our venti mocha latte, guy.
Would you throw hot sauce in that too?
Yeah, I would. I recently made here. Actually, I've got
I made a
so
cleanse drink, dude. So I do my protein
a
shakes.
cleanse, huh?
So hang on, ready? I do my protein
Yeah.
shakes, and David from Way Hot Sauce sent me this sauce that I always talk about. It's like literally everything you don't want to put into a sauce. It's like if you're just trying to hurt yourself. He made it, sent it to me. I dumped like half a bottle in my protein shake and drank it. Bro, look, I'm fighting an injury where I haven't shit in like a month. That thing made
Mm.
gas come out. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like I felt it like hit every single thing in my intestine and just start going, here we go. We're coming.
Yep. Yep. It absolutely does that. The first time that I ate that habanero in the first episode, I had a good day and a half where I was like, I didn't know I could produce this much gas, and it's normal, you know what I mean? But it definitely cleanses you out. As far as putting sauce in like drinks and stuff like that, this is a little experiment I've been doing this week. It's actually just habaneros that I sliced up and then put grain alcohol in, aka Everclear. So it's 190 proof, but you don't use it to drink. You actually just put a few drops in a drink, and it makes it spicy. And that's how I made the Fago spicy this week. But yeah, I would put hot sauce in anything. My whole thing is that there is a way to put hot, spicy food in any kind of food. You can put it in dessert. You can put spicy food in literally anything.
Do you ever,
That's the fun part.
well, like as a wizard, you have to come up with new spells, I would say. But what would you
Yes.
say being creative? I mean, as much as you are, is the fact is, what do you try and do like that incorporate? You got any new ideas of trying to kind of change the industry a little bit? Like everybody's always talks about like, I want to be the next person that invented like a site like Google or Facebook or something like that.
Mhm.
It's like, what are you doing to the sauce industry that's not really been done? Like any flavor ideas, any profiles you've been marinating on?
It, if you look up hot sauce, any hot sauce that I think of, I Google. So like if I think of an idea for a sauce or like a combination of flavors, something like that, I'll typically Google it to see whether somebody's done it in the past or whether they've done it and what kind of a reaction it had. I try to do my research before I put any effort into things as far as like creation goes. But so anything that's been done with hot sauce has probably, like anything you can think of has probably been done. So what I'm trying to do right now is to get a group of people together who are hot pepper enthusiasts, but who don't have a giant tolerance. And I try to make sauces for the common person, fun sauces, things that, you know, really right now, if you don't have a huge tolerance, you got Tabasco, you've got Cholula, you've got so, people who think sriracha is hot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's it's kind of hard to make innovations in hot sauce without creating new forms of capsaicin. They've already taken it all the way to 16 million, so you can't make anything hotter anymore.
Yeah, but that's not for like if you're going to actually want to sell your product to the wide variety of, or not wide variety, but majority of the audience, you're not going to
Mhm.
go based on a 16 million Scoville sauce. That's going to be like a very exclusive few, like the chili heads, the major ones that want to feel the burn and want to die, or people that want to you do like a Bean Boozled type thing. You're
Yeah,
selling to the average common market, which I think is like the main thing that sauce people should be going for, unless they're like, I want to be known as the extreme brand. And it's like, yeah, but you can only have a few of those. And even then, your product
yeah.
doesn't get much attention.
There's value in that. There's value in being the extreme hot stuff. I have some of my favorite sauces are sauces that are hotter than the average person would probably eat. So things around habanero heat, if you ate habaneros raw. So things like Vicious Viper by K-John's. K-John's is one of my favorite brands. I guess I'm going to do a shout out to them. Totally endorse them. But Vicious Viper's really good. I also like Ignite. That's another one made with red Savina habaneros. So, you know, those kinds of things they'll take you right up to the threshold of where hot is tolerable. So you get there, and then like Vicious Viper, I love that on wings. You know, it's got mangoes and papayas, and I think there's a little extract in there, and just all these great peppers. So it is a super hot sauce, and it has a kind of a sting to it. Put that on some wings, and your nose is going to be running. You're going to be sweating a little bit. Your eyes might start watering. Your ears might start ringing a little bit. But 5 minutes later, you'll come down, you'll feel better, and then you've got those happy chemicals, your brain's swimming. And so there is definitely value for being right up there at the threshold. What I don't see a lot of value in on a day-to-day basis, because I like eating hot stuff on like everything. I can't put like the bomb beyond insanity on food and just be like, oh, this is completely normal.
But you like your food to have a kick in it. I put hot sauce on everything too.
Yeah.
I like it.
One of my favorite things to do with those super hot sauces is put it in chili. So I'll take a big old pot of meat and, you know, onions and all that stuff. And then I'll put like a half a bottle of like Dave's Insanity ghost pepper or whatever. And then Hershey bar. You know, you want to make a good pot of chili? Try that recipe. That's amazing.
A Hershey bar?
A Hershey bar.
Chocolate bar.
Like a chocolate bar. Like just no almonds or anything, just a regular Hershey bar in a big pot of chili with about half a bottle, or if you're feeling risque, a whole bottle of like some insane hot sauce. You'll have probably one of the best pots of chili that you've ever had. I won a chili contest with that before.
My dad has probably one of the best chilies I've ever had, but I think it's because he infuses Old Bay in it, and I'm a Eastern Shore Maryland crab guy, so that was a big. His Bloody Marys are literally the bomb, though. He puts Old Bay in his Bloody Marys, and it's like, what is this? Like, what am I eating right now? But I will trust you on the chocolate bar and the chili sauce, because I used to do my egg whites when I make the little omelet. I would put it in a bowl of powdered peanut butter after it was like mixed into peanut butter. So it was chocolate peanut butter mixed with eggs, and it was really fucking good because there's no yolk to ruin the rest of the chocolate peanut butter. So it was just a regular like egg, and then you put it in there, bam. Next thing you know, it was like, holy shit, like. It was the weirdest combination. Put a little black pepper on it. It was something that
actually sounds good.
You really got to try it, dude. I mean, I was like, I don't think this can work, but it was fucking delicious, man. It was like if you put Nutella on an egg, basically, but it was powdered peanut butter. So what the weird part about that is, it's not as, I guess, sweet as the regular peanut butter is. It's more of a bland. The black pepper and the egg actually you can still taste, but then it also tastes creamy. So I'm like,
I bet that you could put, like, I bet if you put that in a blender, like not a blender, like a blender, but like a mixer, like a mixing bowl mixer, I bet you could make a pretty awesome tasting meringue with that. Like it's the same. I mean, it's just whipped egg white. You know what I mean? So like you're already doing that. That's a cool idea, man. I might experiment with that a little bit. Peanut butter, cocoa powder. Is that what you said?
No, powdered peanut butter. Powdered peanut butter and egg whites. Yeah, and then
well, you said chocolate was in there too.
Yeah, there's a chocolate version of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool. So that makes sense.
It's a little bit simpler, but I mean, yeah, I like that. And then I try and think of like, I mean, I got one of the best ideas I ever did. So I like eat salads every single meal. So instead of using croutons, what I do is I have a container of dry cereal and I just crunch it up and put it on top of my salad. And there you go, man. You get to have freaking, but my container is so randomized
That's
now.
Awesome, man.
It's Frosted Mini Wheats one day, and then it's like a Special K one day, and then it's this Lucky Charms, it's random every single time I go to the container. So like my salad's always got a little bit of like twist, but it gives you that crunch because I love bread, but I just don't eat it. I haven't had it in forever, so I lost the craving for it. But when you do get the craving, you make a thing called raw tacos. And what it is, instead of using a taco shell, you use a cabbage leaf. And then you put the meat inside of the cabbage leaf and roll it up. And I always dump hot sauce, sriracha in there and hold it over a bowl or a plate and eat it that way. And then whenever you get the little bits that fall off, you just grab a fork. Bam, son.
Yes. Dude, I actually had that a few weeks ago. I'm allergic to wheat, and so I'm always finding weird ways to like have food but not have to eat bread or, like stuff that's going to mess my immune system up, which is actually another reason why I eat spicy stuff. Um, Hot foods reduce inflammation. So if you have internal problems where you have a lot of inflammation, I'm not making any like medical claims or anything like that, but if you look up the research on it and if you just do your own, anecdotal research, I find that my inflammation goes down as my hot food intake goes up. So it's definitely helpful for something like that. But yeah, those tacos in the shell with the cabbage leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's A+, man.
What about when you're talking about like ways of being able to promote your sauce besides bringing it into like a restaurant or a diner and letting chefs try it? Have you ever just tried like given like what Sam's Club used to do? I don't know if you ever been there before, but like
Oh yeah.
they used to do like the free samples and shit, and you would just come around the
Mhm.
corner and grab another free sample. She's like, "Weren't you just over here?" I'm like, "Nope." And
No,
just,
that guy had a hat on.
yeah, you can fake mustache.
Yeah. I do give out samples in my orders. So I've got right now I've got some plum evil, which was like it's a plum based sauce, but it's colored with beets. So it's got beets in it, which is kind of cool. I haven't seen a sauce with beets in it, but it looks really awesome on food. You can even put it on like, blackened barbecued food and the bright color will just pop out and it just looks amazing. But I give out little sample bottles of that right now with the sauces when people order them. If they order, two or more, if I know that, hey, you're probably going to want to order some more sauce, here's a couple of sauces you might like to try. I tend to do stuff like that.
You strike me as a guy that likes red vines, or I would say Twizzlers.
I'm allergic to wheat. And so those are a no-no for me. Those would make me sick.
Oh, damn. I was about to
I'm
say if you
always,
infuse like a hot
always looking for
sauce.
those though.
I was about to say if you infuse like a hot sauce and flavored Twizzler. Or have you
Uh-huh.
ever heard of the edible arrangements? Imagine if you could do like a
Yeah.
sauce that was more of like a cantaloupe mixed with like a nice hot sauce. Like if you're able to do cantaloupe and then maybe like a little dash of blueberries or like a raspberry
Uh-huh.
to give it those like weird. Because I always find that like if you
That would be
mash up
good.
the weirdest combining flavors, you get like something that actually tastes pretty good, like a pineapple and a blueberry or a lemon and a blueberry.
Mm-hmm.
Like how many times do you hear us like for me, I shot this at a couple people before, but it seemed like it never kind of went through. But like you ever see those superhero pictures where it's like them at a diner and it's all blue outside, but it's light on the inside? It's like an old school diner, like having a shake. It's like
Mm-hmm.
Batman and
Yeah.
Robin. Well, that blue, how many times when you say hot sauce or you look at a hot sauce, it's so ingrained into your head to be red and orange, this fire.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yep.
happens if there was a hot sauce that had heat to it, but it was like a smooth, cool jazz, which is like what I mean by that is like having like a pineapple and a blueberry infusion where you hit it, it's still hot, but it's not hitting you with that image of red and orange. It's hitting you with like a nice, cool midnight blue and like a dark kind of gray a little bit. We're like, whoa, like that's a completely changes the shift. It makes me think of like one of those smooth jazz clubs.
Man, you and me, actually, I think that, like we're very similar in the way that we think because I did make a sauce like that. There's a place down the street from me, and it's just this tiny little soft serve ice cream place called Legendary, and they make a peanut butter flavored soft serve. And so, like, I live in a village of like maybe 2,000 people or something like that. So, um, this place is hopping all the time. It's an awesome place, but they make this peanut butter ice cream. So I was like, I need to make like a hot sauce that would go good on peanut butter ice cream. So what I mixed together was pineapples, blueberries, and apple cider vinegar with habaneros, and I think I put some Reapers in there too. And so I bottled that up, took it down there, put it all over the ice cream, and it was perfect, man. It was so good. And so yeah, you actually have really good intuition when it comes to flavor profiles. Have you ever tried to make hot sauce before?
Like I said, I tried, but then the anxiety of poison ivy kind of hit in, and I was like, I'm gonna touch my eyes. Like, wear gloves. I'm like, I'll still do it. It'll
You
just
won't do
happen.
it. Look, just put some goggles on. You've solved the problem. It's a $2 solution.
You sound like my science teacher when he asked me to put goggles on, and then I
Well,
was
that's just because he
chewing. I was
He
chewing
doesn't want you
gum
to
in
lose your
look,
eyes.
I was chewing gum in class, and he made me write a punishment paragraph that was 3 pages long, talking about how if I chew gum in class, the chemicals that we're working around could absorb into the cheek cells and start doing. And I was like, we don't ever work with chemicals. We never ever do any science experiments. We had one experiment at the beginning of the year, and you haven't done shit since. So why am I doing this? And he goes, because you didn't follow the rules, Robbie. I'm like, life's all about breaking rules.
Yeah, he was right about the cheek cells, though.
Oh. Well, you brought up a good point
He's
about
trying to keep you safe, Rob.
you brought up a good point about the ice cream thing, because at near my grandparents' house there's a dairy farm and they serve ice cream there. So when I was a kid, when I first went there, I was like, oh, we're gonna go get some freaking ice cream. Only other time I went was with my grandfather, and we went to freaking what is it, not Baskin Robbins, is it? Yeah, it's Baskin Robbins, isn't it?
Yeah, that bitch Baskin Robbins.
Yeah. Well,
Carol Baskin Robbins.
Carol. Oh, it's a new flavor. Put it down in the books. Call it Tiger King, and we'll use peaches and nectarines in a hot sauce.
Oh, man, see, yeah, you're definitely. I got competition, man. You've got all these great ideas.
Take the ideas. I don't want it. What do you call it? The ice cream place we went to. He's writing down again. Baskin Robbins. I went there with my grandfather, and there was a woman that was trying, like, can I get the chocolate? Can I get the double chocolate? Well, let me try the triple chocolate. My grandfather's like, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. It's the same thing with more chocolate. So we ended up going to this dairy farm near my grandparents' house. We had the windows rolled up, and I was like, we're going to get chocolate, ice cream, we're going to get whatever. And then I open up the door, and it smells like cow shit. I'm like, what the hell, man? It smells terrible. He goes, it's a dairy farm. What do you expect? There's cow manure. I'm like, oh, so I get my ice cream, and then I get gummy bears all over it, that whole thing. I'm not a big guy on toppings anymore.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to ice cream. But I was like, yeah, let me get all this. And I go to take a bite, and every bite was like I was eating shit. And I was like, I can't. I'm eating chocolate ice cream. There's like fucking cow. There's cow shit right there.
Probably looks like the poop emoji.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this just ruined my whole time. So now, I don't know, whenever I smell cow manure, it just links to a creamery for some reason. So I might have ruined ice cream unless it's Ben and Jerry's.
Man, you got a lot of bad associations with things.
My mind
feel for you.
My mind makes these connections where if anybody was just sitting there listening to it all written down or something, they'd be like, is this a Family Guy episode?
Yeah. It's like, I feel really bad for you. Do you need money? Do you need something? Can I get you anything?
Please donate.
Yeah, please donate. Hit that donate button below.
Well, I mean, even when it comes to like sauce names, is there any type of sauce names that you've had in your head where you're like, I got to think of a good ingredient combination to throw into this?
Typically, I make the sauce flavors first, with the exception of Badass Eagle with the snake in his mouth. That's the one that I was like, I went name first. But like Tactical Gherkin, I made that one up after the sauce. Hot Stripper Babysitter, stuff like that. That's all sauce first. So typically I make the recipe, and then I'm like, what does this remind me of? What's the most absurd, ridiculous thing within reason that I could name this thing, and like what kind of memes could I make out of that?
Spider-Man pudding.
Spider-Man pudding.
So snack pack. There's a vanilla version. I always called that Spider-Man pudding as a kid because when you opened it up, the bubbles on top look like a Spider-Man's web. So I was like, it's Spider-Man pudding. And I've always called it that. So whenever I see it in the store, my brain immediately goes to that. But if you take vanilla pudding, maybe infuse that with like a nice, like maybe a pepper sauce or something where it makes it like a spicy pudding, you know?
You could do powder. Yeah, you could put some Reaper powder inside of that. Man, that's a good idea.
Next thing you know, hold on a second. Next thing you know, you freeze it and you turn it into like a fudge pop thing, like a little freaking pudding popsicle. But Bill Cosby can sponsor it. Call it the Cosby. Oh my God. We're making jobs. We're making people. They're not taking our jobs anymore. We got it.
With the Jello pudding and the
yes.
Man, I don't know about that. He's got some. Yeah, I don't want to really associate with Bill Cosby because of his actions and regarding women, but
you mean his amazing debuts on the Cosby Show?
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers is one of those guys too, man. I know it deep down.
No, I think Fred Rogers was a wholesome guy. You can tell because his wife was kind of homely, and that's with all due respect. He's a good guy. Have you ever seen that quote wherever his wife was talking about how he used to fart in public to make her laugh?
I do that all the time, but nobody ever laughs. They're like, Jesus, what did you eat? I'm like, it's been a month, man. It's been a month.
Oh, no.
Anything inside there is just dead at this point. So when it comes out, it's bad.
Oh, yeah, I could feel for that for sure.
Sometimes you got to, though. Like, I'm like, if you can't crack a fart in public and we're that stuck up with society, I'm like, people fart all the time. What are you going to? I will admit
Uh-huh.
when I do so, and I will claim it because my farts are so amazing. They're my own, and I want to claim them.
Yes. I have a friend, Jordan Meadows, and he's on Facebook, and he's an autistic drummer. So he posts a lot of really cool drum videos, and he's making a name for himself in the local community where he lives, playing drums in a band, and he's really proud of it. But he loves to fart, man, and he will talk about it all the time. He actually is in a group called I Like to Fart, and he writes on his driveway with sidewalk chalk quite a bit, and he writes like, farting is good. I like to fart. And so he must, like, you talked about writing sentences earlier. He writes his own sentences about farting. So, farting has a lot of support out there, man.
I feel like it's a comfortability factor. If you're not able to fart in public, then you're not comfortable. And if you're not comfortable around people, then you're never going to truly be yourself. So that's to get deep and emotional on it.
Yeah.
You ever tried doing a spicy fortune cookie?
I'm allergic to wheat, so I haven't.
Oh, shit. That's right.
Yeah.
Man, that really takes out a lot of options for you to be able to try because you have to taste your own creations.
There's a bakery. I live in a tiny, tiny town, but there's, a village actually, but there's a bakery literally behind my house across the street, and they serve gluten-free stuff. So I can get loaves of gluten-free bread. I can get gluten-free donuts. I can get gluten-free and keto cupcakes and muffins, stuff like that. So I've got options, just not as many options as everybody else.
I'm trying to think of a way because I've been actually it just kind of popped into my head. I'm like, how many times have you ever got something stuck into your teeth and then it's like you want to grab a toothpick? What happens if you made a toothpick that was like a spicy toothpick? Because then you got the people out there that smoke or do like nicotine gum. It's like if they did a spicy toothpick, maybe it could help with that kind of craving and helping them get over certain addictions like smoking or drinking. You put a little hot toothpick into your mouth to be able to numb on that all day. It gives you that process of feeding that chemical a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen that actually. With cinnamon. Have you seen cinnamon toothpicks? They used to be huge in the 80s. They used to sell them at almost every gas station. By the register, you'd see peppermint toothpicks and cinnamon toothpicks in these little tubes. And it used to be a lot bigger than it is. Now you can kind of find them at health food stores, depending on what the health food store is. But it's pretty much for the same reason. Man, you had a lot of good ideas. You know that?
I feel like I don't know. If that one's already created, then that's not my idea, right?
Well, no, but it is. Just because you made it independently of something else doesn't mean it's not a good idea.
Well, I mean, I don't know. When it comes to like just making stuff, like we're saying, if we just start throwing a bunch of different crazy combinations you wouldn't think that would work would turn into something. I mean, you could use all the sauces kind of fall around the same boundaries unless you're like, you're really going out of your category, which it takes a lot to be creative because obviously no sauce is really going to taste the same unless you're copying the original recipe. There's always going to be a slight difference in ratios of things you're using. But like I'll walk through the supermarket. I mean, like you look at all these things that people don't use, people that use like, why don't you try mixing like a watermelon mixed with a strawberry or something and throw that into a sauce. It gives you a tropical infusion. It works in some things. And then you look at things like a fucking honeydew. Nobody eats honeydew. Ryan Sickler talks about it all the time. It's like, why don't you incorporate the honeydew with like a blackberry or a raspberry? You could turn it into a jam or a spread. I mean, how many people have a spicy fucking peanut butter? You don't. It's either crunchy or smooth. It's like, let me get spicy out here.
Yeah. Hey, look at this.
Is that a kitten?
This is a kitten.
Did you summon
I've never been a cat person, okay?
Okay.
Look at this.
That's
so cute.
Adorable.
But somebody threw these cats out. There's two of them. They're like twins.
Wow, really?
And so I'm a cat person now.
That's so well. Good for you, man. Because I watched a Facebook video where a woman opened up her back door. Two dogs jumped out. She threw one in the back of the car and then just drove off and left the other one there. And the other one just started running. And I was like, is that how you get rid of your animals? Like you just like, I'm going to release them out into a random place to starve to death. It's like, you're fucking terrible.
I've seen that before. It's terrible. Like I've seen it in person before. It's people are cruel, man. They don't consider animals living creatures sometimes. I think it's because they think, well, I eat chicken, so this dog's the same thing as a chicken. No, maybe it is, maybe it's not. I think chickens are more like dinosaurs. They got differently developed brains. They don't really have emotions as far as I can tell, but
Two things.
okay.
One, my dad's friend, who's practically like an uncle to me, he owns a giant farm, and what he did was he cut off the arms of action figures and put them onto like a little zip tie, and then he put them on chickens, and they were running around, and they looked like ice. I swear to God, it was the funniest thing. Um, and
I
also
have chickens. I need to do that.
the way I truly kind of have started to understand vegan a little
Mhm.
bit, because I just don't like how they kind of glorify that they're vegan and have to let everybody know. But I'm like, I understand when it comes to the animal thing, because if anybody can sit there, waste chicken, like I'm very, very, all my meats, everything, I make sure I use every last bit of it. I'm a big chicken guy
Yeah.
and a big fish guy. I have been to a Tyson chicken plant. I've been to Purdue chicken plant. I've been to all these places where I've actually seen the chicken's heads get snapped. And I've seen that as a kid
Yeah.
on like a field trip. And I still eat it because of the factor is I know what to waste, not want. Not all these people that are like,
Mm.
oh, just kill another chicken. It's like, but I know what goes behind it.
Yeah.
I think having that sense of gratitude is something that should be taught more, like, because you see so many people just waste so much of it. And I look at the people like that are use all the grounded up bits of, like, when you're making a sauce, for instance, you probably have a lot of stuff that's a little bit left over. You don't let that go to waste. If anything, you could donate it. You could do something where it's able to be, obviously it has to be regulated, but at the same time, use it yourself. Don't let any of
Mhm.
the bit of it go to waste, because then you're just throwing money out the door.
That's true. Um, I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head as far as that goes. We can go into that a little bit. Um, I'm not vegan. I'm not, a vegetarian. I have been vegetarian before. I went almost an entire year not eating meat, and Thanksgiving rolled around, and it's a different story. But I think there is a happy medium between respecting your food and, treating it humanely and actually being able to eat meat. You can it's the circle of life. You know what I'm saying? We got to eat proteins. Our bodies need. You're a fitness guy. You know this.
Yes, I do. Yeah. Now I'm thinking of another sauce combination.
Yes. What about a chicken sauce? What about a savory chicken flavored sauce, like a bouillon, like a spicy bouillon?
What is that, a bouillon cube?
No, like a just like a sauce, like a chicken sauce that you can pour on maybe rice and make it taste like chicken and rice.
Never heard of that. The farthest I've ever heard of that is like the
I invented it
ramen
just now.
packets, the chicken things. Little, you rip it
Yeah.
open. It's supposed to. I never got those to work.
What do you mean you never got them to work?
Whenever I made ramen, I would put the powder in. I'm like, this just tastes like liquid water. Which
Oh,
water is a
you're
liquid? So you like that?
maybe you're using too much water. I don't know. Here, send me a video of your ramen making, and I can help critique that. That's
I'm not the best at making things unless it's chicken breast, like stuff I know how to make. Like, I don't know how to use the oven, only because when I was a little kid and I would always open it up, the heat scared the shit out of me. So I was just like,
fine. Mhm.
I don't need to learn this in my life. I know how a microwave works. I can put taquitos in there for 25 minutes and then walk away. And when I come back, all the ones on the ends will be burning hot, and then the ones in the middle will be super cold. But I'll risk it, because
Mhm.
sometimes life's all about paying a price, and that's what you got
Yeah.
to do sometimes.
Mhm. So taquitos not very heat conductive. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's more like when you
Hmm.
shove something in the microwave for that long and you don't rotate them, you don't do all these things that people consider cooking properly. It's
Yeah.
you're getting what you pay for a little bit. This podcast got depressing fast.
I, these cats
Cats,
are. There's two of these kittens, right? And they're just all around my feet. So if you see me looking down like this, I'm probably messing with a cat. So
spicy maple syrup,
they make that. Yeah.
infusing orange.
Ooh.
So like an orange maple syrup, because it's like a breakfast. You're already having maple
Mm.
syrup on your pancakes, and then there's the blueberry syrup, there's the strawberry syrup. What about an orange mango syrup?
Mm. That actually, man, you have a lot of good ideas.
Have you ever had a nectarine?
Yeah, naked rings. That's what I used to call them when I was a kid.
What's the difference between a nectarine and mandarin?
Well, a nectarine is like a plum, and a mandarin is like an orange.
Then what the fuck's a clementine?
It's like an orange. Nectarines. Clementines and tangerines are very similar. I don't know the difference between those two. I guess it's just kind of like the difference between a jalapeno and a serrano,
Sounds
probably.
like
You know what I mean?
the wealth class. Like if you're fancy, you get a nectarine, but then if you're poor, you get a clementine.
Well, nectarines are like plums. You mean tangerine?
I don't know what. There's too many reens for the ocean, I would say.
There's a lot of fruit with reen in the name.
Where's the people that are supposed to be creative? Why are they all say the last part of reen? And orange is
I need to
good.
just put all of the reens together in a sauce and then just call it een.
Have you ever thought about it? Wow, that wouldn't even be a good sauce idea. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. If you infused prune with anything, sounds like it would be the most like, unless you turn prune with chocolate and you turn it into like trying to go on the basis of the dark. Because when you look at a prune, like I try and envision all the ingredients of stuff, and I'm going to ramble. So if people are listening, it's okay. You can skip a couple
That's good.
minutes. But when it comes to like, you look at a fruit, when you look at an orange, it's the way we associate things, which is orange is like happy, smiling, sun, all the things that gets incorporated into the commercials and everything. But if you look at a prune is like dark, decrepit. You kind of picture old people because that's what helps with like fiber and all these other things. But imagine if you take a prune mixed with like a blackberry, and you could turn that either into a jam, something that's already of a dark color with a little bit of heat to it. Maybe use a prune, infuse it into a chocolate, and add a little heat to that as well. Then you go like, what else is out there? You can't, I mean, you could mix a raisin with chocolate. Obviously, that would probably taste pretty good if you did a chocolate chip raisin like cookie, I would say. Yeah, oatmeal chocolate chip raisin.
It's funny you bring this up because, you know, prunes are just wrinkly plums, right?
Yeah.
So one of the latest sauces, the Reverend Donnie's One-Way Ticket to Heaven, is actually a plum-based sauce. But it's not just fresh plums. What I did was I cut the plums in half and then coated them in brown sugar, and then I had kind of caramelized them under a broiler. And so over time, they turned into this thick, goopy, savory, well, not really savory. It was still sweet, but it was more like a pruny sort of a concentrated plum flavor. And I made that as the base for the sauce. I added that to cinnamon, anise, it's like star anise, and then cloves. And so it tastes kind of like a cobbler or something like that. I created it to go on like a pie. Like a church bake sale is really what had inspired that sauce.
Hence
but, you know, old people, prunes, plums, that's exactly the train of thought that I was going down.
Hence the Reverend. That's why I was associated with the church.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm actually an ordained minister. I've been ordained for over a decade. I've married some great people, and somehow, you know, I haven't died and gone to hell yet. So
where did you
I'm doing all right.
Where did you get your minister's license? I have mine too.
Oh, Universal Life Church all the way. I did it whenever I was like 18. Yeah.
That's awesome. Mine's out of the United Church of Bacon.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm also a Dudist priest.
I am too. I'll send you my degrees. Under the Church of the Latter Saint Dude. I'm also part of the Order Temple of the Jedi.
This is amazing. Yes.
I
think that we just became best friends, Rob.
I think so too. I wanted to say it in the beginning, but when you say "Dang it, Donnie," makes me think of my all-time favorite movie, The Big Lebowski. He's like, "Shut the fuck up, Donnie." I was like, I didn't want to say that to the guy right at the beginning because then I would seem like an asshole. But no, seriously, I got my comedic science degree, and then I went and spent about an hour and a half and $45 at my Maryland courthouse to be able to get my ordained minister's license under the United Church of Bacon, where the woman was like, "I'm not doing this." I'm like, "You are," because I have all the documentation, and there's nothing in our Maryland code book that says I can't be ordained under this church.
Yeah, that's your prerogative. You know, there aren't any real rules for belief. You know what I mean? A church can be anything that you believe. So any kind of philosophy can be labeled as a church. If your philosophy is that bacon is really good and you want to spread the word of the crispy goodness, you're completely capable of doing that. And nobody in a Maryland courthouse
Where I
should be able
fell
to
in
stop
love
you.
with parody religions is the fact of the United
Uh-huh.
Church of Bacon is actually a safeguard for atheists, because people that would say they're atheists would be proselytized by people that were Christian or Catholic for not believing in anything. So the United Church of Bacon
Mhm.
was a way of a safeguard to say, I'm under the United Church of Bacon, where either they want to ask questions, and if people did ask, it would mean that you fall under this church. You didn't have to explain that you didn't have a thing to believe in, which was turned into
Mhm.
that. Same thing with Pastafarianism, which they deny my license
Spaghetti
for.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They denied a license for the Pastafarianism?
Yeah, and I almost got arrested at the NBA. It's a long one. You talk about renewing your
Wow.
license. So I
Mhm.
went there to go get my 21-year-old license, the sideways
Yeah.
one. And I had a pasta strainer I wanted to take a picture with on my head. And the security guy comes over and goes, "How'd you get that through here?" And I said, "It was just in my backpack." And then they took it from me. And at the ending, I had to ask for it back. And he was like, "You want it back?" I'm like, "We're having some pasta tonight. I kind of need this."
Yeah, I need that for food.
Yeah. Well, I think I've
So
wasted
he took your colander and wouldn't let you. That's actually religious persecution.
it
I
is.
mean, it honestly is like under like statutes and all that. So I'm not a lawyer, okay? So
Yeah,
I
but
might be
no,
just speaking out of my
I
bum.
before I
But
did it, I went through the rule book and everything in the state law that says if you have a religious thing, you're able to use. But I couldn't do it because I just didn't have the confidence to be able to sit there. I was like, I just want my license. You're gonna hold me back from getting my license.
yeah, it's like I'm done. This is good. Just take the picture, please. I'll Photoshop it. It's fine.
And the wise words, "Dang it, Donnie."
Dang it, Donnie.
Well,
Exactly.
Donnie, I mean, I really appreciate you doing the podcast, man. I think I've wasted enough of your time here.
You haven't wasted any of my time, man. It's honestly been really good to talk to you, and I'm glad that I was able to be here. So thanks for inviting me, and thank you for helping me rearrange my schedule a little bit because we were supposed to do this earlier in the week, but I woke up and my back, I'm like, oh my God, I'm definitely 33 years old. And like, by the time it was time for me to get up, I was like, this isn't happening. So yeah, I appreciate your flexibility and thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate that a whole lot.
Well, I feel you on the getting out of bed thing. And when I was getting out of bed, I sent like when you open up a can of the Pillsbury dough where it's just making those pops. You're like, oh, that was my hip freaking cracking off to the side. But Donnie,
Uh-huh.
please promote your website, promote your Instagram, promote everything, man.
All right, on Instagram, you can find me at @chilimancer. That's CHILIMANCER. Or you can go to dangitdonnie.com and just buy the damn sauce. You can also find me on Facebook, Donnie Cockrum. I don't quite have 5,000 followers, but if you want to find me, I can add you. And I usually post a lot of memes and stuff like that. I got Dang It Donnie's Cousins, which is a group that I have on Facebook to talk about sauce and all the new stuff coming out. The reason it's called Dang It Donnie's Cousins is because you are all my cousins out there. I know that we may have different ethnicities, we may live in different parts of the world, but trace it back far enough, we are all related. We're all cousins, and you're my cousin in capsaicin. So I definitely want to meet you and be friends and all of that. You can do that. Find me on Facebook, Instagram. I also have a Discord server called Pod People, where we talk about hot, spicy food and different things like that. It's people from around the chili community. So, yeah, I think that's it.
I like that. Not kissing cousins, capsation cousins.
That's right. I mean, you can kiss your cousins too. That's fine.
I don't know about that one.